What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the JERRY1 Podcast. Big show we got on hand today. It is episode number 29 of the JERRY1 Podcast. This episode was recorded last night with my guest on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, we're into May now in the JERRY1, the world. But yeah, conversation last night, so on May 5th. I'm recording this on May 6th, as you will see this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on one of our apps that we can listen to this podcast on. But what do we have on store today on episode number 29, almost episode 30? How about that? But on episode 29, fantasy basketball and fantasy hockey, they're done. The seasons are over. We have two more champions finally in those leagues. My 2+ year run as defending champ in fantasy basketball is over. Finally, I never felt like I was defending champ, but it's over. Sam Shields gets the win. Sam Shields is your 2021 fantasy basketball champion. He gets the win over Paul. And then over on fantasy hockey, Nate has been the defending champion for the last 2+ years. He gets it done again. He wins fantasy hockey again. So technically he wins back-to-back titles. Becomes the second owner next to Paul, who did that in 2014, 2015 football, to win back-to-back championships in a JERRY1 league. Nate does it over Matt. Great run by Matt. We'll get into it. Fantasy hockey, fantasy basketball, probably the best seasons we've ever had. And if you're trying to just, learn a little bit about any of these fantasy leagues on ESPN and our platforms, I will still put in our top scorers in our leagues, and then when you just enjoy the conversation and learn a little bit about fantasy, if you want to get better at it, this is the pod for you. But who's on today? Who did I talk to last night? I talked to the 2021 fantasy basketball champion, Sam Shields, is on the podcast. It was good to talk to Sam. It's a great conversation. You're going to enjoy it. So, I talked to Sam last night, talked about his championship and also his start to his fantasy baseball season where he's 3-1. So what's the schedule, Nick? What's the schedule on episode 29? Well, first I'm going to talk about fantasy basketball, recap everything that happened that season, and preview 2022. 2021-2022 season. I will preview that fantasy basketball. Then I'll show you the conversation with Sam, and then I'll preview and recap fantasy hockey, and as well as getting you caught up on fantasy baseball at the end of the pod. That's episode 29. Here we go. It's going to be a good one. I'm Nick Felice. Let's go. Sam's going to come on in a second. But first, let's talk about fantasy basketball. And if you're wondering the theme song, why the championships that we just happened, I am waiting for the stat corrections. Stat corrections are still a thing. Waiting for them, and then I'll put them in the theme song, and you can watch them for history. But let's talk about fantasy basketball. Sam's the champion, gets the win over Paul. Paul was the number 6 seed, first ever 6 seed to first ever 6 seed to get to a finals in JERRY1 Fantasy Sports. Sam, 4 seed, becomes the first 4 seed to win a championship over in fantasy basketball. Pretty impressive stuff. I mean, you want to talk about Paul, how hot he was coming into the finals, but you forget how hot Sam was. We'll talk about that conversation with Sam. But he was hot as well. You know, he was playing his best fantasy basketball as well. And I think he was just getting a little healthy at the right time. And then you talk about a team like Kyle, just not healthy at all. And Blake gets him with ease, wins with ease in the inaugural third place game. So Blake gets his money back. Paul still finds a way to be in the money. And Sam comes out with a good pot, $250 this year. That is a JERRY1 fantasy basketball, most $250. So good stuff for Sam. Big win for Sam. You know, it's a championship that now he has one in basketball, and he already had one in baseball from his very first ever season plan. So this man's a stud. You know, there's only 5 people that could say they have multiple championships in JERRY1. I'm one of them. Sam's one of them now. 8 with his 3, Matt with his 3, and Paul with his 5. It does suck for Paul because, yeah, it's another finals. His 5th runner-up. You're talking about he has the most final championship wins in JERRY1 Fantasy Sports. Now he has them. He still has the most, even though Matt was runner-up as well. Matt's got 4 runner-ups. Paul's got 5. Paul's been to 10 finals. That's unheard of. That's unheard of stuff. He's only played in 20 plus seasons, and that's just unheard of. 10 plus finals for Paul, or 10 finals for Paul. He's won 5 of them. Hasn't won one in a while. It's been 2018 fantasy hockey, the inaugural season of fantasy hockey, and fantasy hockey is going into its 5th year this fall. So it's been a while since we've seen Paul win a championship, and he still doesn't have a 10-man league plus championship. He's got 3 8-man and 2 6-man. It does linger on him a little bit, but he's still a stud. He still gets to the finals. He's still found a way to get to a championship. Sam, on the other hand, never missed a playoff, entering its 7th season now in fantasy baseball this year. Made 6 straight playoffs to open up the fantasy career. I said in the conversation I was going to look it up. I still haven't looked it up. I think that's a record. At least opening up your career like that. Make that many playoffs in a row in JERRY1 Fantasy Sports overall. So that's impressive stuff. Sam, hats off to him. I'll be honest, I didn't think he was going to win it. Coming into the playoffs, I thought the other 5 teams were just way better. But the top 4 scorers there, Matt, Larry, Blake, Kyle. Blake was the top. All lost in their first playoff game this year. So Paul and Sam took advantage of it. They did take advantage of it. You got to hats off to Paul's first-round pick. Nikola Jokic just dominated the season. He's the only guy that scored 2,000 points this year. In the whole season is all that includes every regular season week and the 6 playoff weeks. Finished with 2,312 points as of this Monday. I mean, it could stat corrections or whatever, but he just an absolute dominant year. I think the biggest surprise this year was my man Julius Randle. He was the biggest surprise. That's the reason why Matt was so good. He had Vukovic, who was 2nd in scoring. Randall finished 5th in scoring. You can't argue about what Justin Kiefer did, the first pick, taking Luka Doncic. And then the Greek Freak, Greek Freak was 3rd, Luka was 4th. They're both excellent players. They were within 100 points of each other, both of them. So he can't argue. You can't rag on Justin Kiefer in his first ever pick in fantasy basketball that he took Luka. Still a great pick. I bet you he would do it again. Then, of course, you look at the trades. Zion got me a top 10 player. Russell Westbrook's done a great job for Sam's team. He was awesome in that finals for Sam. Wizards have been playing well. Steph Curry, of course, has been good. Of course, Rudy Gobert under radar. It made Justin Kiefer a good team. Justin Kiefer had him. He had Luka. That was a good two pieces right there for Justin Kiefer. That was a good Justin Kiefer team. You got to remember, he was 6th in scoring. Sam Shields was 7th in scoring, and Sam went on to win the championship. So it was a good Justin Kiefer team. Great first year, I'll give him. It was a great first year. He had some great players on his team. Did a great job. And Damian Lillard, I finished 10th in scoring. Good job for Larry's team. That guy, he was a leader. He definitely could be a first-round pick again next year. It's good, exciting stuff. I think you look at me, Kurt, and Justin, who have always been in the mix. We all missed the playoffs this year. We all were mediocre at best. I think things just didn't go our way. Justin had plenty of opportunities to make the playoffs. We've said this before over in fantasy football as well. Just opportunities, just like in the 2020 football season. Justin just had to win, I believe, against Pat and Josh or whatever in the last couple of weeks of football, and he would have made it. He just had to win one time in these last couple of weeks in basketball, one or twice. He had to win. He had the tiebreaker with Paul. Paul didn't win on the finals. So Justin just missed opportunities. Me and Kurt just didn't have things go our way. And then Josh and Jack, bottom of the pack, they were bad years, just bad years. I think Jack just needs to set his lineup more. Josh, on the other hand, just needs to Kyrie Irving hurt him, just not playing a lot. Any guy like that, just doesn't play a lot. Kevin Durant getting hurt, missing games. Can't think of anybody else on the top of my head. My whole team. DJ Warren, what a pick. But, I think that's the goal next year. It's just to draft guys that you expect to play more. But, it was a great year. It's the best year we've ever had. I expect Kyle to be back. And be a factor. I would put him up there right there with Sam. Once again, that's what we came into this year. It's going to be Sam or Kyle. And going to next year, I think it's going to be Sam or Kyle. I think these two are just running this league. Yeah, you got your Blakes. Great year. Let's see if you can do it again. You got your factors like me and Matt. All guys have been around. Justin, Kurt. These guys have been around. We'll see how Justin Kiefer does in the second year. Justin Hillwa has been a factor. Should be a good year next year. We're going to have full season, I hope. So it's going to be a good year. But, to finish off this season, I just want to say, congrats to Sam. Great year. Great playoff run. A playoff run that we'll remember forever. And I'm sure he will as well. But now it's time to build a dynasty. And let's see if you become the first ever back-to-back champion in fantasy basketball. Never been done. We'll see if it happens next year. Congrats to Sam. Congrats to Paul as well on a great year. He did play well. Team all year. He's a 6 seed. Definitely no 6 seed. Larry can tell you that. Kyle can tell you that. It's a great year. And yeah, I had fun. It wasn't the most successful year for me. Fantasy baseball has gone off to a good start, but we're going to talk about that later. But now, here's that conversation I promised with Sam from last night. Here's that conversation with Sam. Today's guest is on the podcast for his second time on the pod. Yeah, I'll get into it in a second, but Sam Shields is on the podcast once again. Sam, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. How's it going, Nick?
All right, I was going to introduce you as this. I'll say it right now. 2021 JERRY1 Fantasy Basketball Champion. How does that feel?
I mean, how do you think it feels? You know how it feels. It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was defending champ for 2+ years. I finally had to give it up. And there you go. You take it. So you know what? It's only been today. We're filming this on Wednesday night. It's only been 72 hours. How's it? What's it feel to be a champion?
That's true. I've been partying, for 72 hours straight. I don't think I've been sober in the last 72 hours. It's been great. I'm just thrilled. It was a hard season. I was the underdog going in. We can talk about that further, but yeah, it just feels great.
You definitely, it's kind of because you've always made the playoffs. You've always been a threat. You were an underdog. And Paul was a hot team. He had won, I believe, 6 games in a row. He was scoring well. But people forget that you were also playing your best fantasy basketball at that time as well. And, 7th in scoring you were. I know what that's like. I think my baseball championship, I was 8th in scoring going into the playoffs. And it just shows that getting in really does, gives you a shot at winning it. And 7th in scoring to come in, I think the other 5 were the top 5. How's that? How'd you get it done? I mean, then you also had to win 3 rounds, 6 weeks.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, middle of the season, mid to half later of the season. I mean, yeah, I was not scoring points. I know I was winning earlier in the season, but I started facing good teams. I was losing. I'm like, I'm gonna get the playoffs probably. Though I'm pretty sure you doubted me. You didn't think I was gonna make the playoffs of the teams. I heard that. Um, I guess just turned it around. I actually tried to around the trading block, try to trade Westbrook away. I tried to trade him to my boy Justin, Bosie Bomber, for like Chris Paul. And that could have been a huge mistake. I wouldn't have won him without Westbrook. So I think that was a huge move. I picked up Anthony Edwards, and I don't know, my guys just got healthy, and it worked out.
Yeah, and Russell Westbrook, I think I saw that when I was looking at your team today. And I think he scored 250 points in that finals against Paul.
Yeah.
You know, you came out with a win. You won with easy. You won with pretty ease. When did you think it was over? When did you think you had it against Paul?
Not until the last day, probably. Not until you're like, I think it's almost over. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But Paul, I got the early lead on Paul for like 100 points, and I think it stayed 100 points for like 13 straight days. Like we just kept tying on points every day. So it was a constant battle. Tough battle with Paul as always. But yeah, it wasn't really until the last day that I thought, I think I actually might have this.
Yeah, let's go through your whole playoff run. Obviously, as great as the championship win was, obviously the first round, beating my brother, your college friend, Matt.
For sure.
How was that? Getting that win first.
Well, I mean, that's the guy I wanted to beat most, especially after he talked some trash before the playoffs, saying, "Oh, without question, I want to face Sam Shields in the playoffs. No question at all." So that that got me going. That got the team going. Then they got fired up out there. Yeah. So being him, I mean, our first week he had LeBron out. Well, he had LeBron out the first, both weeks. Curry was out, and so we're like, well, let's see who's got the better team without our best guys. And I got the lead early and then never looked back. So it was awesome.
And then another semifinals that was like not even close at all, either semifinal. Then you go against my college friend Blake. He was the number 1 seed. He was the top scoring team.
Yep.
And then you wiped the floor in that round as well. I mean, what was the mindset coming to that after the upset, Matt? Upset over Matt.
Yeah. So yeah, going to facing Blake. I mean, he definitely had in my opinion, the best team in the league throughout the year. I mean, he got that 1 seed. And so I was like, well, I mean, he crushed me during the regular season, so we'll see what happens here. He had to have Giannis out, so I'm like, okay, he's got his best player out, so that helped me a lot. But even with Giannis, I think I still would beat him. I mean, I beat him by like over 300 something points. My team was on fire, and yeah, it just wasn't close. It sucks for him. Just had some bad 2 weeks. I think he came back, got 3rd place, but yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and then you talk about Matt lost his best player, Blake lost his best player, but Paul, who has the best player like I've ever seen in fantasy basketball, Nikola Jokic, and he played, and you still beat him, and it's an impressive run. I'll say that 7th in scoring regular season. I will be honest, I did not think you had a shot really because
Thanks, Nick. Thanks.
because of how tough the rest of the playoff teams were. And but Steph Curry coming back, you changed up your team name there. I saw it a little bit. You changed up the team name, then you changed it back.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Russell Westbrook showed up in the finals, but with Steph Curry, he was your guy all year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Steph. If he's on the court, he's going to be awesome. Even when he's not awesome. Like, you'll have 3 bad quarters. I think, this last week, he had a bad first half. He had like 2 points, like 5 turnovers, negative 6 points, I think. It's like, oh, no. What's going to happen here? Score 26 in 1 quarter in the 3rd quarter. I mean, that's just who Steph is. Once he gets hot, it's over. So, yeah, he was a constant throughout the year, and except for those, 3 weeks or so, but hung on without him, and yeah, we get that championship.
Yeah, and you had some luck finally in the baseball draft getting an earlier pick. Steph Curry was the 10th pick. And I've heard a lot of chat around the league in fantasy basketball saying that only people who have like a top 3 pick or early pick in a basketball draft can win this thing. yes, you didn't score that great in the regular season, but you still won it all. What do you have to say about being a 10th pick in the draft and pulling up the championship?
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, I think throughout the year, everybody was like, top teams had the earlier picks. You had Giannis, you had LeBron, you had Jokic. They were awesome the whole year. And then so I come in, I'm like, all right, I need somebody that's going to play like a hero ball sort of player. I want a Dame, obviously, my boy Damian Lillard, but Steph Curry fell to me. I'm like, I'll take Steph. I had him higher on my board. I know if he has anything like any years like he had before last year, it's going to be a great pick. And he was awesome. And then the second pick, lucky you get that next pick, and I kind of like that because then you get 2 all-star caliber players. And I was able to get, I think, Westbrook in that second round. And it hurt me beginning of the year. He wasn't that great with Beal, but obviously turned it up more than anybody in the second half of the year.
What do you think was the best move that you made this season?
My best move was somebody else's move with Justin declining my trade for Westbrook. I think that was my best move. My best move was probably picking up Anthony Edwards, I guess. I picked him up, and I never thought about dropping him after that. He's slightly inconsistent, but he filled in greatly with my team. And of course, I think honestly my best moves were multiple moves throughout the playoffs with who I picked up as the playoffs went on, because I was constantly looking at the schedule, constantly looking who's going to get more games here and here. I was thinking ahead of time, and I think that really helped me get some more points, seek out some more points if I needed them, especially against like Paul. So that was
yeah, it's very difficult sometimes with the NBA is because you don't know who's going to be playing this late into the season.
Yep.
The reason we cut off the last 2 weeks of the NBA season now is because our first ever finals in this league, Matt and Paul were in it, and it was just a complete disaster. I think it was for Matt's team. It's just like he might be the reason we started. It's just he had to constantly keep picking up people, and we played all the way to the last day, and it was just awful. And this is the most important, matchup of the season, and so that's why we don't play the last 2 weeks. But we did play 12-week regular season this year, which is like only 4 weeks shorter than a normal season, and we had the whole full playoff. So it was basically, it was basically a full season. But what would you say to someone who is calling this, an asterisk season, even though I don't think it is, but.
Well, I definitely don't think it is. My answer to them would be they're flat out wrong. I think this is by far the hardest season that we've had that, I think we could have, the condensed schedule, the double headers. We're playing more games than usual. We're dealing with all these injuries, people resting double headers, if they come back healthy. You're looking to coaches' decisions. You're looking into, especially with ours, begin the playoffs, the trading block was right there for the NBA. And so we're like, oh, is this player going to switch teams? And you're constantly looking to see who's going to get a better position on a different team. So I would not say it's definitely an asterisk. I mean, this was a hard season, and the competition in this league is unmatched. I think this year was the hardest set of players we've had. So I would say it's the hardest season, and I came up on top. So I'm definitely not saying it's an asterisk.
Yeah, so you only play basketball and baseball right now, and obviously, if people know you, 2018, your first season, won a championship in baseball. 3 years took you to win your championship in basketball, but you haven't. It's a little earlier than some people who don't even have one yet. What's next for Sam here in JERRY1? Is it just building up this dynasty, I guess, you got around here in JERRY1? It's only been 3 years you've been in this. You already got 2 titles, and there's only 5 people, including me, who can say multiple championships in JERRY1, and that's impressive stuff in such a quick amount of time. But what's next for you?
So, basketball's over, so I can finally focus on baseball. So we'll be looking to get that team on track. I mean, we're doing well, but definitely looking to focus more on baseball and get them playoff worthy and championship contenders. Also, I'm going to keep campaigning for a football spot. I want to get in that league. Yeah. I was watching Matt's podcast, and it was probably like 5 weeks, before the playoffs. And I heard him say, I like our team. I like our league how it is. We don't need an extra team, I'm like, okay, whatever. I think he's just scared, but, we can talk later about that. But yeah, right now, just focusing on baseball, trying to do the best we can there.
Yeah, he's either scared. He's not a big fan of expansion. He's one of the tough ones to get him to come across on it. But yeah,
we'll get him there.
He's nervous. He's nervous
That's
now.
Right.
And I guess we'll transfer over to baseball because you are playing Matt once again over here in baseball. Not to mention, week 4 in baseball, which was last week, you beat Paul as well in that league. I mean,
Poor Paul. I'm just being on Paul.
You're just piling on Paul. Your team's 3-1. Your one loss against Mr. Undefeated
Yours
over
truly.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been terrible winner in the fantasy world, but I've come on strong, start my summer, and but 3-1. What are your thoughts of your team so far, baseball?
Well, I'm happy. 3-1. I'm beating Matt right now, barely, thanks to John Means getting that no hitter today. So that was great.
Yeah. How about that? How about that?
Yeah. What timing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy with my team. I'm really happy with my pitchers. I think they're pitching great. I'm still getting some negative points from the guys, so we'll work that out. But I think my pitchers are picking up the slack of the hitters. I just looked today at the batters I drafted.
Yeah.
And none of them are in the top 50 of batters for points. It's not too good. So we need to make some work there. I got Lindor, and he's just been a mess. So hopefully he turns it around. Or I may have to do some trades.
Yeah, I see he's 0 for 3 tonight.
Yeah. Not surprised.
One guy that's done good for you is Jared Walsh. I saw had a nice week for you last week. I saw he was your 3rd best player last week.
Yeah, I picked him up. He's been great.
Well, he had a 16-point game, which helped. That helped a lot.
That helps. Yeah, that's okay. They don't need to be consistent. If you get a game with like a bunch of home runs, or you get a complete game from a pitcher, I mean, they could have a bad game the next. You'd be all right. So,
I mean, this is your 4th year in this league. You know what the pitchers starting pitching is the top. That's you went out and got what you had 3rd pick, 5th pick, something like that.
5th pick, I think.
Yeah, 5th pick. You took Shane Bieber, got your pitcher. He's done good, right? Yeah.
Cy Young winner. I can't complain with that.
Yeah.
I think Mike Trout was drafted before me, and I was happy with that. Mike Trout's a great player, but I really wanted a great pitcher, and DeGrom and I think Cole were already gone. So I'll take Bieber. I'll take it.
But not last week, but the last 2 weeks, it was me in week 2, and then my college friend Larry in week 3. Your matchups, you're 3-1, but you split these 2 that came down to Sunday night baseball. 2 straight weeks came down to Sunday night baseball. I remember messaging you about the one we had week 2 there. I think if Wilson Contreras if he had hit a home run at the end on that Sunday night baseball, he was the last batter of that entire game. It came down to the last batter. That was your only loss this season, but you did pull out the other one. And your thoughts on these close games? Close games.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for more from a fantasy league. Get into that last game, for the last part of the week, and you're like, oh, come on, man, you can do it. One player.
Yeah.
Then we got from Contreras, but then the next week, I think Grisham was the last player, and they needed a hit to get into extras, and he got the single. I was like, yes, and it got me over the hump. So, and you can't ask for more. Maybe you could. Maybe you want to win by 400 points every week, but I like the excitement of it.
Yeah, it's always nice to put up a good week. But this is a long season. We haven't had a season this long in a while. 18-week, which is a normal season. 18-week regular season. So we got all summer to figure it out. What are your thoughts on the league so far? You see me up at the top. You nervous about that?
I'm not nervous. Come on, I'm not nervous. Your team's definitely good. Your team's,
I think we should brag a little bit on this. I think us two have been the 2 most dominating owners in this baseball league that's been around for 4 years. We both got championships. The only one we didn't win was that stupid short one last year, but we were both in the playoffs.
You're talking about asterisk. We'll talk about that one. I don't know if that one even counts.
I'm happy for my cousin Johnny to get the win, but that if you want asterisks, that's an asterisk season right there.
Yep.
But do you feel so? This is your 7th season in JERRY1 overall, 4 in baseball, 3 in basketball. Do you feel the pressure of never missing the playoffs? Does that make you pressure to you?
No, I don't think so.
Hey.
I'm not gonna change the way I draft. Pick up the guys the same way, and if it works out, it works out. I don't even really think about it until I'm right there. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll make the playoffs now.
Yeah.
So
Like,
just focus 1 week at a time. You don't really think about the pressure until you're right there in the playoffs, and then you think about the pressure of the championship, sure, but not about the playoffs. 1 week at a time.
Yeah, I have to look that up. I think if you go 7, I'm definitely sure 7 for someone to open up a JERRY1 career like that. I think 7 straight playoffs to open up. I don't even know if anyone's ever made 7 straight playoffs. Like, that's some impressive stuff. You're always putting yourself
Hard to do.
Yeah, you're always putting yourself in the conversation. You're always a threat. But let's look at your team. Let's pull someone off your team. So you're not confident. You need to work on the hitting, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. My hitters are a little lackluster.
Jack Flaherty, how's he been doing? He's actually been killing.
Flaherty's been great. Yeah, Flaherty's been great.
Yeah,
no complaints there.
Yeah,
most of my pitchers have been fine. And I drafted Kluber, and he was not good.
Yeah,
and
he
then
had a
I
great
picked him up again for last game,
Yeah.
and he turned it up. Last couple games, I think. So.
Yeah, were you happy with your draft?
I was. So I was happier after the draft. I thought I had good pitching, good hitting. Pitching turned out great. I picked up some pitchers late. Like John Means, I think, was after a 200 pick. Like, he was late.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a starting pitcher, and I'm like, oh, this guy's an opening day starter. I'll pick him. I'll be honest. I even not on my research. I did not know who this guy was. But no, that worked out great. But yeah, hitting in hindsight hasn't been great. But I think some of these guys will turn it around. So I have faith.
Yeah, it's just look at your schedule. You got Matt this week. That's a win, right? That's a win.
Oh yeah, that's a win, 100%.
And then you got a couple games coming up against 1-3 teams, struggling teams. So you can really, get this team off to a great start once again. What are we shooting for? How many wins this year?
Let's see. So there's how many weeks? There's
18.
18 weeks. We'll go for 13 wins. We'll be miles with 13 wins.
That will definitely be a playoff team. What do you think of 6 playoff teams in this league this year, or to the basketball playoff format?
Yeah, no, I like the 6 teams. I think it's a good amount. About half the teams. I think that's fine. I think that's good for playoffs. Get some buys. There's buys in this league, right? I mean, look at the playoff bracket. Yeah, 2 buys. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
So the best teams, I think they deserve a bye. But yeah, half the teams I think is fine. I don't think you want to go more than that. Less than that, I can see the argument for it, but I like having those 2 buys in there with the 6 teams.
Yeah, very cool. It's early in the season. It's still early. Like you said, now you're focused on baseball, and it's not like you forgot your focus. You're still 3-1, still have a good team.
My side focus,
Yeah.
I can multitask.
Yeah. But yeah. I think everybody who comes on my show for a second time plays my new game, JERRY1, true or false. Sam, I told you a little bit before the show. It is 5 statements about your 2 franchises. You start with 100 points. I will say the statement, and you say how many points you want to wager, how confident you are in your answer, and then you say your answer true or false. If you keep wagering at all, you can get up to 3,200 points. The record right now is Justin Kiefer with 1,200 points. To crack the top 5, all you need is 1 point.
1 point.
Yeah.
So if you lose all your points, you can still can still wager 1 point, right? You can get 1 point.
If you get down to 0, the next one will be worth 1. So wager wisely.
Okay. I'm not too confident in this one. I did some research before our last game, but not this one. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, here we go. The first couple are easy. All right, are you ready to play?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, for 10 points, or I say 10 points. No, first statement. You have 100 points. 100 points. Okay, you got 100 points. First statement of 5. Sam has been to a basketball finals. True or false?
I'm going to wager all my points and say true.
And that is correct. Yes. And this year, he won his championship. Had not won a playoff game until this year. So it's big stuff.
Around.
It's true. You're up to 200 points. Okay, so now you can wager up to 200 points.
Mm-hmm.
Second statement. You won your fantasy baseball championship in 2020. True or false?
All my points false.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, it is not true. It was the inaugural season was in 2018. Yes, that is right. You're up to 400 points. Okay, now the game begins for the final three
Now it
states.
gets tough, right?
Yeah, here we go. 400 points. Third statement. Here we go. Fantasy basketball. It took you 40 games, regular season and playoffs, to win 30 games in fantasy basketball. Is that true or false?
40 to win 30.
Were you 30-10 to open up your basketball career? Or do you even have 30 wins? Is that true or false?
I want to wager half my points and say, I'm gonna say false.
Half points, so 200. And he says false. And the correct answer is, I'm so sorry. It is true.
Oh no.
True. You have to have confidence in yourself. It is true. Yes, it took you 40 games to win 30 in basketball.
See, I thought it was better. That's the reason.
Oh, you thought you're better. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, you still at 200 points.
All right.
Let's get it back for fourth statement. Sam is 6-1 all time versus Paul Russo in JERRY1 fantasy sports. So basketball and baseball, 6-1 all time. Is that true or false?
I know I'm good versus Paul. I know I've beaten him more times than I've lost. 6-1 though. I feel like he's beaten me more than once. Should I have confidence in myself? I'm gonna say false. I'm gonna wager. I'm gonna wager all my points. False.
And I like the confidence because that is correct. Yes, it is false. Yes, you were actually 5-2.
5-2. So yeah, okay.
2-1 in basketball, or 2-1 in basketball, 3-1 in baseball. 5-2
2-0 the past week. So
that's true. That's right. That's why I put this in here. That's right. 400 points you're up to. Okay, you can tie for third best score if you wager it all here, but this is a tough one. It's a tough one. So that's one. Fifth statement. Well, let me read this. Oh, Sam, fantasy basketball. Sam has been first in scoring in the regular season week, first in scoring in fantasy basketball 6 times in your career. True or false?
6 times. So like individual weeks or like the whole season?
Individual weeks, your whole career in basketball. 6 times you've led the week in scoring in the regular season. True or false?
I mean, who knows? I'm gonna withdraw my points. Flip a coin for this one. I'll just say true. True.
And that is correct. Yes, it is true. Yes. Yes, you have 6 weeks. Only 6 weeks. I won't say only. You have 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's more than other people, Nick. Come on.
6 weeks you have been first in scoring in the regular season of basketball. But fun fact, not fun for you. You did not lead 1 week of the 12 weeks this season in first in scoring.
But maybe that's the key, because then I led weeks in the playoffs and I won. So
this is a stat that doesn't matter, I guess, because you can win a championship.
Irrelevant.
You can win a championship without scoring a week, because there's teams that missed the playoffs that scored first and scored. So whatever.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So you finished 800 points, tied for third, best score. How about that? Another solid.
As a podium. I'll take that.
There you are. If the graphics are up here, you'll see your name up there. There it is.
There, number 3. Hopefully it's right there.
But Sam, before I get you out of here, let's talk about basketball before I get you out, because we'll get you on again and fight about baseball. Yep. Basketball. Have you even thought about what would it mean to win back-to-back, in this very tough league?
I mean, yeah, in this league, it's going to be tough. Those top 3 teams, Larry, Kyle, Blake, Paul's going to be back, Matt's going to be back, the whole squad. You'll probably, build a team that's going to be competitive for sure. So it's going to be tough, But yeah, so it would mean a lot. I mean, if I beat all those guys, so yeah, let's leave it at that. Look forward to defending my crown.
Yeah, even guys like my cousin Jack, he was bad this year, but he was in the semifinals.
Around. Yeah,
he was in the semifinals.
Justin was good this year too. I think he maybe had more points than me. So both Justins were pretty good this year. So
yep. And then there's Kurt. My friend Josh. I don't know about his team. His team's pretty bad all the time, but
Team's questionable.
there's a lot of threats. I'll be back. I'm gonna try to make a run back. It'll be, it's what is it, October? I'm hoping that we'll be back. So it's gonna be a quick turnaround, and you got
Yep.
defend another title. Your baseball won. I won it, so you didn't defend it, obviously. But maybe it'll be something to defend a title. We've only seen it twice in JERRY1 history. Paul,
Really?
fantasy football, 2014, 2015, and then my friend Nate just did in fantasy hockey. It's the only two times we've seen it. So think about all the defending champs that have ever played in JERRY1 have not defended the title. I've never defended a title. It's tough to do.
Twice. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Even though I had the basketball one, I was technically the defending champion for 2+ years.
So you say that, but you really, that's questionable. I don't know if you were.
That's why
you didn't actually win.
That's why my team this year. Every time I defend my title, I change my name to Champs. And this year I just had Champs with an asterisk. That's why I put the asterisk next.
Yeah, that's fair. You accepted it, Yeah, you were still champion, that's for sure. Defending, I don't know, but you were still a champion.
As bad as it sounds now to lose in the playoffs to Jack, a Jack team that was 1-11, that did happen. I lost in the playoffs to Jack, and that it's tough to think about it now, but
Hey, we move on.
Sam, enjoy the championship. Hopefully you haven't spent that $250 yet.
No comment.
Sam, enjoy the championship. Enjoy the defending championship season when it comes in basketball. And I wish you the best of luck against Matt this week in fantasy baseball. Sam, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, Nick. Anytime. And hey, happy Cinco de Mayo, man.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Always a pleasure. See you later.
I want to thank Sam for coming on. It was great to talk and great to catch up with him. Enjoy it. It's a great time. I enjoyed it. It's always fun to be champion. Always fun to be on top of the league. And and I wish him best of luck in baseball. I expect him to be in the contender once again. And he already is looking like that. But let's talk about fantasy hockey. Fantasy hockey, let's recap it. Once again, are we surprised? Nate is your champion over the 5-seeded Matt, who did not even finish over 500 at the season's end. But Nate, to win it against his roommate rival from college, Q, then to have the best season ever, get cut short, and then to come back and you see Justin Kiefer and you see Paul just dominating this league like they have been all season. And then just to keep doing it and knock off Paul with ease and to beat Matt in such an exciting finals. It was almost like the playing game with Matt and Josh. It was great. It was a great back and forth, just exciting, that finals. It was a great finals. Nate pulled it out. Crazy how it ended with Matt won the one game on Sunday there to close it out. I believe it was Tampa Bay. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, but it was exciting finals. Matt, this will be a run that will be remembered forever. We've seen 5 seeds go to the finals. I've got it done. I'm the only one to get it done as a 5 seed. In baseball and basketball, both my championships are 5 seed runs. They're unbelievable runs. I think it's just runs that the runs made by good teams that just didn't get a high seed, like we saw with Paul with a 6 seed. And and Jack made the run back in 2018 for inaugural fantasy baseball season. And Matt did it here in hockey. But Jack fell short. Matt also fell short, and it was Tampa Bay at Detroit was the game on Sunday. That was crazy. It was one game. But it's a great run that Matt will remember. He would love to win another ESPN JERRY1 championship. He only has the 2 football on the ESPN platforms. He won but he would love to win another one. I think he's got the tools to do it in basketball someday. Basketball is just so tough. He can do it in hockey. He's been successful. He's the inaugural regular season points championship. So he's been successful in hockey. Just finally got in the playoffs this year as an under 500 team. Took advantage of it. Knocked off Josh, who just can't figure out how to win the playoffs. Knocked off the top seed, Justin Kiefer. And then He beat Nate twice this regular season. It was tough to beat him 3 times. He beat him in week 1 of the finals. But Nate just came back and was too strong and got the win. And hats off to Nate. He wins $70. First time he had money in this league. Matt gets 10. No third place game. I don't keep track of that. I know Justin Kiefer and Paul tied. Whatever. I don't keep track of that. But you got to give Justin Kiefer credit though. This is just a great year he had. I know it was disappointing. He wanted to win it this year, but he's going to be a factor again next year. We're thinking expansion. We're thinking rule changes, but I expect Justin Kiefer to be there as well. He's good at this fantasy sport, and Paul's good at this fantasy sport as well. Paul once again has won since the inaugural season in this 2018 season. Justin Kiefer, I think if he wins a championship, it's going to come in this one first. It could come next year. But until someone beats Nate, it's Nate's league to lose. But Nate's done a great job. Matt's done a great job. He did a great job this year. He's done great jobs. And of course, Josh just got to figure out how to win the playoffs, man. I know he doesn't think he's good at fantasy hockey, but he is. He is good. Just needs to win the playoffs. Me and Q, on the other hand, just need to get off to better starts. We both got hot at one point this season, but it's just such a short season. It's just you lost 9 weeks. Like a normal season, like 19 weeks long. It was not 9 weeks. It was only 10-week regular season, so really shortened season, almost like the baseball one last year. So we'll get back to a normal season, I hope, next year. And Jack had a good team, man. He had a good team. I just wish he would set his lineup at least once. He didn't set his lineup once. He had a guy like Austin Matthews on his team. He had Mikko Rantanen on his team. Those are top 10 scorers in hockey. If Jack would have set his lineup, he could have been a factor. That's why he won a couple games, because of how good his team was. So, yeah, I think if Jack can start trying a little bit more, he had a good team. But Connor McDavid of Josh's team just led him. Only guy to score 200 points. And from, I only count the regular season weeks and the playoff weeks. I stopped it on Monday morning. Connor McDavid, I might be stat corrections if not through, but I had him on Monday morning, 234 points. Unbelievable season. Then his teammate Leon Draisaitl of Paul's team, 195. Just great work by these guys. These guys just they killed it this year. But yeah, and then Austin Matthews third. Matt had Brad Marchand and Nathan McKinnon 4 and 5. Rantanen of Jack's team. Mitchell Marner leading Nate's team all year long. Patrick Keane helping out Paul's team, and Jonathan Herbedew, Q's team. We talked about Jonathan on Cube's on. And then Sidney Crosby still getting it done for Justin Kiefer's team. Great stuff. Great stuff. And then, of course, try to get defenders and goalies more. Adam Fox, hats off to him. Matt's team, Rangers did a good job, best defender. And then Van Delansky for my goalie. And then I also had Mark Fleury third. I was the goalie guy. It just sucks because you see there's a couple goalie guys on there that just were free agents. Free agents, top 5 goalie. That's unacceptable to have a top 5 goalie, a free agent. So we got to do something with the scoring. Got to do something. Edmonton, even Tyson Barrie. I believe, was on. I'll go to my computer real quick. I'll be right back. You can still see me. He was on Nate's team. Yes, Nate's team. What a weird logo Nate's got. What is that logo, Nate? Explain to me what that logo is. But yeah, he's on Nate's team. And another Edmonton guy who's third best defender. So Edmonton, I expect Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl will be 1 and 2. Either way, I don't know which way they're going to go. It's like basketball, Greek Freak, Luka. But I think Jokic should be number 1. Over here, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, just great years in fantasy hockey. And I expect the scoring to go up. I'm trying to make it more of a fantasy baseball scoring atmosphere where it's about 250, 300 points a week instead of like fantasy football. The way Matt and Nate were scoring, these guys were scoring pretty good in the playoffs there. It was like 150-point weeks. They were putting up some points. But I still want to get the scoring up. I still want to make defenders and goalies more important. But just to really recap it, congratulations to Nate. Congrats to Matt on a great run. You deserve it, Nate. This is your league. We'll see if I can get some guys in here. We'll see. I'm not going to throw any names, but we'll see if I can get some guys that can compete with Nate. It should be exciting. Like I said, it's a great year for fantasy hockey. I think next year he's going to even be better in the 5th season of fantasy hockey. How about that? That's it for fantasy hockey. That's it for fantasy basketball. They're done. That's it. Fantasy baseball show until August. Maybe we'll do something with the Olympics. I don't know. I think that's in August too. I have no idea. I'm a fan, but maybe we'll do something with the Olympics. But for now, it's just fantasy baseball. So let's start it right now with the fantasy baseball talk. How about your boy? First place, pulling out a Sunday win over Jack in week 4. How about your boy? And I got the lead right now here on this Thursday. It's noon now. Thursday at noon on the East Coast. I got a 2-point lead over Kurt. So Kurt's a good team. I'm a good team. How about this Fletch team, though? This Fletch team's really good. It was nice to see. It was nice. Sam's team. John Nees, he comes on. John Nees throws a no-hitter. So he's been killing it. He's actually first in scoring right now. He might have been during our conversation, but I just didn't read it on the graphics. But for now, you'll see John Means is the top scorer in fantasy overall. But that varies because there's guys that haven't gotten enough start. And so, that's if you're wondering. But, me 4-0. Fletch 3-1, and Sam 3-1. Fletch and Sam both won 2 straight. Fletch has been first in scoring 2 of the first 4 weeks. Blake the other 2 weeks. Blake's got a good team. Larry's got a good team. Matt's got to figure it out. He lost to Josh. That was bad. And, of course, Kurt's always there. Johnny's the defending champ. He's got to figure it out. All those guys 2-2 right now. So it's tight. It's very tight. Andrew picks up his first win of the season over Josh. Josh was looking so good. He got the win over undefeated Matt team at the time. And then he puts up 124 against Andrew. What happened? Josh trying to figure it out. Paul now. Paul is struggling. This Paul team needs to figure it out. I've heard he's been injured. Let's look at the team. Yeah, he's got some injuries. I wouldn't say Ryu's a big loss. But I wouldn't say it's like, yeah. Honestly, I think Paul's got to work on this pitching a little bit, and Ryu is a big loss for that. Big loss. But Paul just needs to get healthy. It's a long season. Very long season. It's only week 5. Like, week 5 last year was the 5th week of the 7-week regular season. So this was playoff pushing time now. Now I'm just, relaxed. I'm relaxed because I'm 4-0, but I'm just relaxed. Great guys out there on the leaderboard right now. John Means, he's done a good job. Tyler Glass now. Eric Cole. Some great Pirates right there. But, starting pitching dominates the top of the league. You'll see some hitters pop up. Ronald Cunha's of Andrew's team and the JD Martinez's of the world from Josh's team. They pop up in the top 10, but it's a starting pitcher dominance league, and Jack's doing a great job. Jack is doing a great job with that. He's really come out and he wants to pick up pitchers, and he's trying out there. I got to give him credit. He's trying out there. Aaron Nola's been good for Jack's team. Another guy's been good for Jack's team is Garrett Cole. Yeah, obviously. Garrett Cole is first-round pick. So starting pitching, Jack, I like what he's doing here. He blew 2 leads on Sunday, so it's a good Jack team. He just needs to get some luck on his side. Close out those wins when you got him going into Sunday, and Jack can figure it out. He's got a big game against Paul this week. Let's round up on this Thursday afternoon. I got a 2-point lead over Kurt. Sam's got a 2-point lead over Matt. Close games. Paul's got a 39-point lead over Jack. Larry's got a 73-point lead over Andrew, I believe. And Blake's got a 24-point lead over Josh. Low scoring game. Fletch is got a 100-point lead. 100. I can't do math. It's like a 120-point lead over Johnny. So Fletch out there scoring again. Who's first in scoring? It's got to be Fletch, right? Fletch and Larry, man. These are 2 good teams right here. Fletch 181, Larry 154 on this Thursday afternoon. No, good teams. Fletch. When do I play Fletch? When do I play Larry? Play Fletch next week. So, and then I play Larry weeks after that. So, some big games coming up. I gotta win that Josh game 2 weeks from now. Next week could be the biggest Nick versus Fletch game in JERRY1 Fantasy Sports history. We haven't had a lot of huge games in football, but next week could be it. It could be a big game. Hopefully I can stay undefeated. I was 13-0 that 1 year, inaugural season. Starting to look like that team. Building up some pitching, trying to get my championship back that I won in 2019 from Johnny. Getting it back, Johnny. So that's it for fantasy baseball for now. It's going to be talking about it a lot more lately, but, it's sad. Basketball, hockey's over. That's it for the talk until this fall, this summer. We'll get some of those guys on, the guys that are just hockey and basketball guys like Nate. Maybe we'll get Nate on, talk about his hockey championship. But Q, Kyle, Justin Kiefer, and Justin Noah, the two Justins. Well, we'll talk to you guys later. Yeah. Have a good off season. Keep studying. And I will see you later. No birthday shout outs this week. That's it for the podcast. Episode 29 is in the books. And I've been Nick Felice. And that's it. Yeah, I have nothing else to share. Fantasy, it's great sports. If you're not into fantasy and you're watching this, welcome. Get into it. It's a great time. It's great fun. It's a lot of fun. But that's episode 29 of the JERRY1 Podcast. Thank you, Sam, for coming on. Great show. Great to talk to you. 10 people now have been on twice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the podcast. I've been Nick Felice. Set your lineup, and we'll see you on the next JERRY1 Fantasy Sports Podcast, episode 30. Let's go.